Time travel. It's a great way to fix problems. Forgot to do your homework? Go back in time and make it right. Got killed by Noob Master 69 in Fortnite? Jump back in time and eliminate him first. 50% of all lives been wiped out from existence? Just jump on back in time and prevent it. Oh, wait, that's not how time travel actually works in the MCU. You can't change your own past, but you can certainly mess up the future for other timelines. We think that when the Avengers stole the Infinity Stones from the past to undo the decimation, they ended up creating a bunch of alternate timelines. And because of the changes to the past, they may have messed up those timelines forever. It turns out that Back to the Future and almost every other time travel movie you've ever watched is a big old bunch of baloney. Bruce Banner, aka Smart Hulk, explained that if you travel back in time, you don't actually alter the future, but instead end up creating a whole new timeline. We guess that Smart Hulk didn't watch Doctor Strange, where the Sorcerer Supreme used the Time Stone to travel back in time without jumping to another timeline, but maybe the rules for time travel are different when it comes to the Infinity Stones. Look, it's very convoluted and confusing, and the only real rule for time travel is don't overthink it too much or your head will explode. While there's no doubt that Avengers Endgame is one heck of a cinematic achievement and a movie event like no other, there's some serious confusion as to how the time travel actually works in the MCU. In Endgame, we saw the Avengers use the Quantum Realm to travel back in time. Initially, the heroes travel to 3 points in time to collect the 6 Infinity Stones. We see Captain America, Iron Man, Smart Hulk, and Ant-Man travel back to the Battle of New York in 2012 to collect the Space, Time, and Mind Stones. Thor and Rocket jump to Asgard in 2013 to steal the Reality Stone, and the 2014 group splits in 2 teams. Black Widow and Hawkeye travel to Vormir to obtain the Soul Stone, while Nebula and War Machine are forced to watch Star-Lord dancing around on Morag before they grab the Power Stone. As expected, things don't go according to plan. The 2012 timeline gets messed up big time, as Loki steals the Space Stone and teleports to his own spin-off show, forcing Steve Rogers and Tony Stark to travel back to 1970 in order to get a different Space Stone. But seriously, was Thor so drunk that he forgot to mention that there was a Space Stone just sitting in Odin's vault on Asgard back in 2013? The 2014 timeline gets messed up as well. After 2014 Thanos learns about the future, he travels to 2023 with his entire army, which could mean that there's a new timeline where Thanos and his troops are missing, making life much better for everyone in that new timeline. After Smart Hulk brings all the Dusted back to life, and Tony Stark snaps his fingers to dust Thanos and his whole army, we're led to believe that the timeline is kind of fixed. We see Captain America going back in time to return all the Infinity Stones to their original timelines, which will prevent a bunch of alternate realities. But is it really as simple as that? There's a big catch to that ending. First of all, as Smart Hulk explained about time travel, any change in the past leads to the creation of new timelines. So while Cap might have put all the stones back in their original places, that's still a change in the past. Beyond that, when Captain America goes back in time, all the stones are just in a case. But as we all know, most Infinity Stones were housed inside special containers. For example, the Space Stone was hidden inside the Tesseract, and we're not sure how Steve could place the stones back into their containers on his own. He might be worthy to swing Thor's hammer Mjolnir now, but he can't just conjure objects out of thin air. To put the stones back into their containers, Cap will need some magical or cosmic help. It's possible that the Ancient One could offer some help with that, but if Steve ends up asking the 2012 Ancient One for help, he'll automatically alter the past and create a whole new timeline. The Soul Stone could be one of the hardest to return, because beyond the fact that it was hidden by some type of dark magic, to return the stone to its place, Captain America will need to meet his old nemesis, the Red Skull. We learned in both Infinity War and Endgame that ever since Red Skull was banished to Vormir, he got some new powers, which we assume go beyond levitating and knowing the names of people's parents. Red Skull will probably figure out that Captain America came from the future, which will of course complicate things and once again alter the timeline. Besides, the Russo brothers explained that once the Soul Stone is taken, Red Skull is free to leave Vormir, so you have to wonder why Red Skull would agree to help Captain America put the Soul Stone back into its place. Even if Cap somehow was able to return all the stones to their proper places, Steve Rogers ended up creating a whole new timeline anyway at the end of the movie, when he decided to stay in the past with the love of his life, Peggy Carter. We think that no matter what, now there are multiple versions of the past in the MCU. To make sense of all the timeline alterations, let's use the 2012 timeline as an example. We think that after Avengers Endgame, there are now at least 5 2012 timelines. The first one is the original one that existed before the Avengers traveled back in time. The second was created after the Avengers stole the Time and Mind Stones from 2012, creating a new timeline. In this new timeline, Loki has the Space Stone, and Earth is in serious danger since Doctor Strange won't be able to pull off his I came to bargain trick when Dormammu comes a-knockin', because the Time Stone's gone. The third timeline was created after Captain America and Iron Man traveled back to 1970. They took the Space Stone out of that timeline, and since the stone pretty much is the reason for the Battle of New York, it's a safe bet that 2012 will be very different in this new timeline. The fourth timeline was created after Captain America went back in time and returned to the stones. We assume that this timeline will have less change, since the stones were placed back in their places. But as we said before, this is still a change in the timeline. The fifth timeline was created after Steve Rogers traveled back in time to live his life with Peggy. Of course, the same could be said about the other timelines. In the 2013 timeline, Thor is missing his trusty hammer after 2023 Thor pretty much stole it, and we all know how attached Thor feels to his hammer. Plus, the Reality Stone is missing as well. The 2014 timeline actually had more positive changes, since Thanos is missing from one of the 2014 timelines. The Thanos from 2014 was dusted in 2023, along with his entire army, so now the 2014 timeline is safe from Thanos. But it also means that the Guardians of the Galaxy will never become a team, since both the 2014 Gamora and the Power Stone are now in different timelines. Both Gamora and the Stone played major roles in the formation of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, we guess that's the price that had to be paid. 2018 Star-Lord lost his Gamora, but got a new one from the past, and the 2014 Star-Lord never actually met Gamora. So in a way, there's something kind of poetic about it all. The 1970 timeline might have had some everlasting effects, since the Tesseract is missing from it, and considering the role the Space Stone has in the MCU, the changes could be drastic. For example, take Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers got her powers from the Tesseract, and if the stone is missing, Carol will never be exposed to the energy that gave her those powers in the first place. Meaning no Captain Marvel in that timeline, and who knows how that could affect the future of the MCU and Earth. When it comes to messing around with the past, there are serious consequences for the future. The Avengers were able to undo the snap in their own timeline, but who knows what this means for the other timelines following all the changes in the past. The new timelines must look very different by this point, and since time travel has somewhat of a domino effect on time, one alteration to the past results in multiple other shifts in the timeline. This, of course, could lead to the MCU exploring more of the multiverse and these alternate realities. We did get a little hint that the multiverse exists in the new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, and we really hope that we'll see more of it moving forward, since it could lead to some really great stories and the introduction of alternate versions of characters we already know. For all we know, at some point in the MCU, we can see a clash between different universes that were created in Endgame. Think about it. What if one of the new timelines gets really messed up, and the actions of the Avengers turned the timeline on its head? How awesome will it be if we end up seeing an actual war between different Earths? One of the best things about Marvel Comics is seeing many different versions of the same characters. The what-if factor is always interesting. It's always fun to take established characters and stories and turn them on their head to see how things could have played out differently. This could be the MCU's version of the Secret Wars storyline from the comics. Just imagine that epic moment in Endgame, where we see an army of heroes clashing with Thanos and his army. But instead of a bunch of CGI aliens, there will be an army of heroes from other timelines. Now that is something we all want to see. Beyond that, the Infinity Stones were used to alter reality 4 times in a row. Thanos snapped his fingers in Infinity War, but then in Endgame we found out that he used the stones again, this time to destroy the stones. 5 years later, both Smart Hulk and Tony Stark snapped their fingers back to back. Using all 6 Infinity Stones so many times is a good way to mess up reality, and we're sure that in Phase 4 and beyond, we'll find out that there are serious ramifications for the 4 snaps. Regardless of how it all goes down, we really hope that the MCU doesn't end up just swiping all the changes to the timeline under the rug. The events of Endgame can have an important effect on the MCU moving forward, and considering the fact that the decimation was undone and all the dusted were brought back to life, there must be serious ramifications for all of it. Sure, both Iron Man and Black Widow gave their life for it, but we hope that the MCU will dive deeper into alternate timelines and the multiverse in Phase 4 and beyond. Do you think the Avengers messed up the timeline? Will we see it coming up at some point in the future of the MCU? Let us know in the comments below, and if you liked this video, we'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe to CBR. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.